things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner, is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
This is Cynthia Sue Larson with Reality Shifters and the International Mandela Effect Conference, and you're now listening to Dark Wolf's Den Show on Ripon Common Sense Radio.
Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Hello.
Lasers.
Hello.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
This is your man Meta, aka Propagate This Light, and you're now listening to Dark Wolf's Den.
Are ghosts real?
We had 1,000 hours of continuous communication with the spirit world.
Does time travel actually exist?
The laws of physics seem to be compatible with time machines.
You know, sometimes I wonder about reincarnation. Don't you?
A 4-year-old boy in Adelaide, Australia, has told his parents that he used to be Britain's Princess Diana.
What would happen if the world found out that aliens were real?
I didn't say disclosure would be easy, but what is the alternative?
To establish a space force as the 6th branch of the armed forces.
We have so many questions and yet so little time, so to have you here, the pleasure is all mine.
Coming to you from a secret mountain cave, hidden deep within the Idaho wilderness, this is the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to another episode of the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday, December 17th, 2020, and tonight we are broadcasting live to every corner of the galaxy, every inch of the Milky Way, every side of the Earth, and we are proud to have every last one of you here with us. You've tuned in tonight to hear us howl about Christmas miracles. That's right. Such magic surrounds the holiday season. So many things happen that we just quite can't explain. And tonight we're going to go over some of the most amazing Christmas miracles that I could find. That is tonight, December 17th, 2020, on the Dark Wolf's Den Show. But first, today in history. After starting out 2 years prior as nothing more than a skit on the Tracy Ullman Show, ladies and gentlemen, on this day in 1989, The Simpsons, created by Matt Groening, is premiered on Fox TV as a fully animated series, with the first episode being Simpsons roasting on an open fire. How do you like that for a holiday theme today in history, ladies and gentlemen? And that is today's Today in History. Now, there's actually something really kind of synchronistic about this that you guys listening on the radio may or may not know. If you are listening on the radio, you'd like to join us in the chat room over here on the Dark Wolf's Den Show YouTube channel, we would love to have you along, guys. But if you may or may not know, on the channel over there, we have released some Mandela Effect videos this past week, specifically videos dealing with the Fox animations like The Simpsons. One of the videos specifically was referencing The Simpsons because they referenced the specific Mandela effect. It seems like a lot of the Fox cartoons lately have been kind of wink wink nod nodding over here to the Mandela effect community and referencing Mandela effects blatantly to us that we would catch it, but not so blatantly that anybody else would quite get it, right? Kind of a wink wink nod nod, like I said. It's kind of like a Christmas miracle that they're saying they're on our side. And speaking of Christmas miracles, ladies and gentlemen, you have tuned in tonight to hear us howl about Christmas miracles. And I warn you, some of these guys are going to be really touching. I was really blown away by some of this stuff. And our first presenter tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is named Matthew Centaro. This guy has his own YouTube channel also. He's been doing it for quite a few years. I really enjoy the channel myself. This is not sponsored. This is me saying it's a channel that I personally enjoy, and you guys might too. But nevertheless, there's a magic that surrounds this time of year. A magic that we can't always quite explain. A magic that you can feel in the air everywhere you go. And sometimes you can see manifestations of this magic in the many miracles that happen, especially on Christmas Day itself.
In April of 2006, Vonda Ludstrom's pet dog, a 12-pound rat terrier named Daisy, escaped from her Aurora, Colorado home by digging a hole under her fence. Lundstrom spent months searching for her 2-year-old best friend, but came up empty.
And if anyone has ever lost a pet for any amount of time, you can definitely understand the stress and just the amount of sorrow that one feels when the helplessness that one feels when one has lost a pet, because you don't know what's going on. You can't help them. All you can do is just hope and pray that something happens in your favor and that they get returned safely. But you don't always know, right? You're not always 100% sure. And the not knowing, that's probably the worst part of all.
Then, on Christmas night, over 8 months later, Daisy walked along the street in front of Tracy Crass, who took the dog in and called the number on one of Daisy's tags. That put her in touch with a veterinarian who promptly put her in touch with Lundstrom.
And of course, you would think that would be the end of the story, but ladies and gentlemen, you are not going to believe the rest of this story. Check this out. This started in Colorado, right? The lady was in Colorado and the dog had escaped and she couldn't find him. You're never going to believe where the dog turned up.
Now, this would just be your everyday Christmas story if not for the fact that Crass lives in Knoxville, Tennessee, 2,092 kilometers from Lundstrom's home.
Okay, so I lived in Tennessee for a good majority of my life before I switched caves over here to the Idaho wilderness. And I can tell you that is a very, very long distance. I had to fly 4 hours on a plane, get on another plane, and fly another hour in order to get from Tennessee to my current location. Now, with that said, this dog walked or somehow made it, hitchhiked, I guess you will, from Colorado all the way to Knoxville, Tennessee. That is from literally one side of the country to another. And not only did it make it, but it was found and spotted by somebody who was able to actually get it back to its owner. And it was found on Christmas Day. That is more miraculous than I can even calculate. You got to figure the dog made it across the entire wilderness of the U.S. All the different animals across the world, or across the country, I should say, that would gladly have made a meal out of it, I'm sure, but still it survived and made it all the way across the country until it was found. That's mind-bogglingly statistically insane, the fact that it all worked out that amazingly.
Daisy was flown to Denver International Airport and reunited with Vonda, the best Christmas present either had ever received.
And I love that he brought that up because, of course, it feels good when the pet is returned and you know it's safe and you know everything's okay. But think about the person who was able to make that happen. All the way across the country, they were able to make somebody's world come back to life. Make somebody go from a sorrowful, missing their pet person to one of the most ecstatic people in the world. Could you imagine if you were able to give someone else that kind of happiness? The happiness that's received in just helping others is incredible, right? And that's one of the wonderful Christmas miracles, right? The magic of Christmas, that we tend to help others just a little bit more during this season. That magical situation, those moments that put us in just the right spot at just the right time. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment too.
Christmas time can be pretty crazy, especially when you consider that millions of people are trying to get to a friend or family member's house in time to open presents together. Now, traffic accidents, unfortunately, are super common in those situations, but add in some freezing rain and you've got a recipe for a holiday disaster. And that's exactly what happened just outside of Oklahoma City in the early hours of Christmas Day in 2012.
And I can tell you, I've been through some freezing rain situations, and that is a very, very dangerous situation, especially when trying to drive on what is literally a pure sheet of ice. And these pileups are nothing new to the freezing rain areas of the country, and they're very, very dangerous. Many people get very injured and lose their lives quite often in these unfortunate tragedies, which is what makes this story all that more miraculous.
Slick roads and hurrying drivers wound up causing a 21-car pileup on Interstate 40, which totaled not only several cars involved, but it also caused a transport truck to jackknife.
A 21-car pileup. That is what would normally be a really, really bad situation. That is a recipe, like he said a moment ago, for absolute disaster. However,
as emergency workers and paramedics rushed to the scene, which was declared a major accident, they expected to be pulling bodies out of vehicles and locating severed limbs. Now yes, that sounds disturbing, but in a Christmas miracle, every single person in that accident walked away without serious injury. Something tells me every single one of them is going to be drinking a whole lot of rum and eggnog.
It really sounds like there was something protecting every last one of those people in that situation. Now, mind you, yes, they might have lost their vehicle, but if the vehicle is all that they lost, then they aren't in bad shape at all, considering, as it said, that the EMT workers were expecting something very, very bad, and what they found was truly a Christmas miracle.
On December 21st, 1950, the Korean War was about to enter its 7th month, and thousands of refugees were gathering in the port city of Hungnam with the hopes of escaping. Leonard LaRue, captain of the SS Meredith Victory, a U.S. freighter, decided that human lives were worth more than his cargo.
What this captain did was not only unheard of, but one of the most humanitarian things I think I've heard in a very long time. Guys, this is one of those stories I was talking about in the beginning. You might want to get your box of tissues ready.
And ordered all of the supplies and weapons on board to be unloaded. The Meredith Victory was built to house 59 people, 35 crew members, 12 passengers, and 12 officers.
All right, now that's important to this story. 39 people, that's all this ship was built to hold. The freight and 39 people.
But by December 23rd, over 14,000 Korean refugees had boarded.
A ship built to sustain only 39 humans is now got 14,000 Korean refugees on it, along with the 39 that were already previously there. Now, not only did he have a ship completely full of human lives, but remember a moment ago when he said he dumped all the weapons? Well, that was actually one of the most important parts, because he was about to do something so dangerous and so incredibly humanitarian that the Christmas miracles don't come along like this every day.
The ship then navigated mine-filled waters without any weapons. The people on board were so packed, none of them could even sit down.
So not only did he pick up these Korean refugees and fill this freight ship to its ever-loading brim, then he had to navigate an extremely dangerous minefield that could have sank the ship before it even gotten started. But by that miracle alone, he made it through the minefield. Again, this is so mind-bogglingly statistically insane, because not only did he make it through the minefield, but wait, there's more.
But unbelievably, they reached Kojay Island on Christmas Day, miraculously without losing a single passenger, and even gaining more, as 5 babies were born on the trip.
And for the people involved, the Korean refugees, this was nothing short of a miracle, a Christmas miracle nonetheless. This man saved the lives of over 14,000 people that probably would have otherwise been in a much, much worse, much more deadly situation in their home country. He could have decided to just carry his freight, make his money, and look the other way like pretty much most every captain I think would have. But in this case, he did something that most anybody would not do. He made a decision that a lot of people wouldn't make. And it's sad because, it's the most humanitarian thing he could have done. It was dangerous. It was extremely dangerous. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that everything worked out so perfectly, that is nothing shy of a miracle. Not only that, but they actually gained 5 babies along the way, which takes us into our next story called A Miracle Baby.
On Christmas Day 2012, 21-year-old Ilkeston, Nottinghamshire, England resident Leanne Carter.
Shout out to everyone over in Nottinghamshire, England. If you got us on the radio tonight, we appreciate you guys tuning in.
Began experiencing severe stomach pain. It became so bad that she decided to skip the morning festivities and head straight to the hospital.
And that would turn out to be one of the most important decisions she made in her life, believe it or not.
It was there that doctors realized that, to Leanne's utter surprise, she was about to give birth.
Some of you right now are probably thinking, well, okay, she knew she was probably pregnant. This is just a little earlier than she expected the birth, right? Well, not exactly.
At 8 a.m., Joseph was born to a mother that had no idea just hours before that he even existed.
Yeah, you heard that right. She had no idea that he even existed. She had no idea that she was carrying a child at all.
But what makes this story truly miraculous is that Carter showed absolutely no signs of being pregnant until the day her son was born. She had no sickness in her first trimester, she did not get overly big at all, and continued having her period as normal and didn't even feel Joseph move inside her once. Still, the new mother took the birth as a miracle and the best Christmas present ever. Well, that's exciting, except somebody's gonna have to cancel their vacation plans for the new year, but hey, happy for you.
And if you listened to last night's show, you would probably think that I don't believe in Immaculate Conception, but you would be wrong. I actually personally believe in a lot of the Christmas story and the characters therein, but that's beside the point. The point here is the fact that she did not know she was pregnant at all the entire pregnancy. At all. And then all of a sudden, because she wasn't feeling good on Christmas Day, she goes to the hospital and delivers a Christmas miracle baby that she never knew existed even hours prior. That is wow. That could be a miraculous conception. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's not an immaculate conception. Probably happened the natural way, but just the fact that she had no idea at all, and what we would call random chance, which I don't think is random chance at all. We'll get more into that in the second half. But this random chance event, if you will, was the difference between probably the life of that child and the mother. And we're going to carry this baby theme on for one more story. This story right here is wow. Again, I hope you got your tissue box ready, because this is one of those heart wrenchers.
On the evening of Christmas Eve 1931, Julia and Ed Stewart were driving through a desert near Florence, Arizona, when around 8 p.m. their car broke down.
And usually, if you're driving along and your car breaks down, there's no good that can come of this, right? You're usually in a sour mood, you're upset, you're not happy, you got to work on your car and get it fixed and get it back on the road somehow. This is never a good situation, right? Well, this situation right here was probably the best thing that could have ever happened. And one of the most important things, as a matter of fact. If it had not happened to this particular couple at this particular time, the circumstances surrounding the rest of this story would have been very much different. Check this out.
As Ed worked on fixing it, Julia took a stroll around the area only to hear a whimpering coming from a lady's hat box that sat mysteriously just 46 meters from the car.
So it's really interesting that the car is broken down in exactly the spot where there's something unusual to be found, if you will. Would you go up to a hat box that had a whimpering sound coming from it?
Inside, to the couple's complete shock, was a 7-day-old baby girl wrapped up in a blue blanket.
Wow. What an incredible find. Not only is the car broke down and you found this hat box with this funny whimpering sound, but to find a human baby in it? Now think of these circumstances here. What would have happened if they would not have broken down at that exact time or even at that exact spot?
Once Ed had their vehicle repaired, the Stewarts rushed the newborn to the Mesa, Arizona police station, where the girl was brought to a maternity home. The baby, who would later be named Sharon, was healthy, something that would not have been true if the Stewarts' car hadn't broken down exactly in the place where it did.
And this brings me to something that I believe in wholeheartedly. Now, yes, I fully believe that God could direct miracles in such a way as to happen like that. However, I also believe in something called a time-locked event. Now think about this. If the situation had been any different, the child would not have survived, right? And I don't know what the child went on to do or who she became or anything like that. But the fact is that she was found by this couple who just happened to break down in the exact spot at the exact right time to save this child. This and the many miracles that we've heard tonight so far were not nowhere near done. But the many miracles we've heard so far, and I want you to keep this in mind as we go forward, I believe are based on truly what is called time-locked events. Events that are locked in, that have to happen regardless of anything else. Like, think about that. They were driving down the road, going along their merry way, and just by, again, what we'd call random chance, the car happened to break down in that exact spot, right? Or they were meant to break down there regardless. No matter what would have happened, they would have broke down on that spot. No matter how well the car was tuned up, if they would have just got it checked, I feel they would have still broken down exactly on that spot, on that time, to find that hat box. This time-locked event, I believe, is exactly what occurred. I believe, yes, we do have free will, but I believe our free will is only to a degree, because certain events, once again, have got to happen both on a world scale and on a personal life scale. I truly believe that. I truly believe in what is called, once again, time-locked events. And every one of these miracles is what I would definitely consider an example of what would be a time-locked event. I've been wanting for a while to make a show on that and haven't been able to figure out how to explain it in such a way that would make sense, but doing this show tonight is really got me to really come to the conclusion that this is truly what I have been preaching about for almost a year now, and that is the concept that I come up with of a time-locked event. But there's a whole lot more to these Christmas miracle stories, or a whole lot more of these Christmas miracle stories, I should say.
On the morning of December 7th, 2007, 37-year-old Alcides Marino and his 30-year-old brother Edgar were washing windows at Solo Tower in New York. They had just reached the 47th floor when the platform that they were standing on broke. Both men plunged over 152 meters to the pavement below.
For those wondering, that is 498.68 feet. Basically 500 feet to the pavement below. This is tragic. This is also not gonna end well, right? This is gonna take a Christmas miracle for something good to happen here, right?
Sadly, Edgar died on impact, but Alcides somehow survived.
Okay, the fact that he survived a 500-foot fall is miraculous in and of itself. The other guy didn't make it, unfortunately, but the fact that he survived a 500-foot fall, you would think that's the end of the incredible miracle, but wait, there's more.
After 24 units of blood, 19 units of plasma, and a total of 10 surgeries, the first of which required his chest being opened in the emergency room, Alcides was placed in recovery, but doctors told his wife Rosario that he was unlikely to recover.
So even though he miraculously survived, he didn't exactly survive unscathed, right? He had to have a lot of surgery, a lot of damage done, I'm sure internally nonetheless. So it's not like it was a complete walk away without a scratch situation. However, the situation is so bad that he may never recover. This is definitely going to take nothing shy of a Christmas miracle.
But in what can only be described as a miracle on Christmas Day, Alcides woke up and spoke to the absolute shock of his doctors and the nurses. He made a full recovery and now can even run marathons. This story's beautiful, but it also reinforced my fear of heights.
And I have to agree with Matthew on that one. Not necessarily on the fear of heights, but that is an incredibly beautiful story. And once again, a time-locked event, in my opinion. They fell 500 feet. Nobody should have survived that, let alone woke up miraculously with no damage at all, with a full recovery, and even the ability to run a marathon. I mean, come on. That is nothing shy of scientifically impossible in any other case. And if you just told somebody that story, they'd probably say you were pulling their leg, but it's a Christmas miracle. It is a time-locked event. For some reason, he was meant to be here and do something. We always say that, right? It's meant to be. We're meant to do this, or it happened because that's the way it was supposed to be. Well, maybe that's the way it's supposed to be because it's locked into time and it has to be. Maybe we're saying the exact same thing. And speaking of the way it's supposed to be, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we are down to the bottom of the hour. We got to take a network break right here, so we'll be right back with the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den show and more Christmas miracles right after these messages. Don't you touch that dial.
We got to stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays, everyone. It's AJ, the Ripon Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's look at miracles with Jerry Hicks and the Dark Wolf's Den show? If you are, and you haven't done so already, please make sure to thumb up that video, hit that subscribe button, and ring that bell. You'll get our notifications every time we go live. Jerry will return again next Wednesday night as he kicks off the weekends right here at Ripon Common Sense Radio. Our weekends are extended just for you. We're here every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights, bringing you the very best of Common Sense Radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Come along with me tomorrow night as we explore the rabbit hole of a handmade Christmas. Tales and clever ideas of creativity. That's tomorrow night, December 18th, starting at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. Then Saturday, December 19th, the White Elephant Ripon Rabbit Hole Christmas Party. It's going to be a lot of fun Saturday, December 19th. Our annual White Elephant Christmas Show and the Ripon Rabbit Hole Holiday Party. Fun had to be timed by all. Saturday night, December 19th, for sure. Be here or be square. Immediately following the broadcast, the VIP chat lounge will be open as the holiday festivities continue in the Backstage 24/7 VIP chat lounge, where the party will continue, I'm sure, well into the evening. Now, guess what? We've unlocked 50 seats in the Backstage VIP lounge for our holiday Christmas party. So invite your friends, invite your family, heck, invite your family's friends to this one-of-a-kind exclusive event, Holiday Christmas with the Ripon Rabbit Hole. Then Sunday night, we'll end out the weekend right together. Sunday, December 20th, with Wish Upon a Star. Make your Christmas wish along with us as we wish upon the Christmas star the night before the winter solstice. And guess what? I've got connections, folks. I've got a special guest going to be here Sunday night, December 20th, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. That's right, the man in the red suit will be here, my special guest, Santa Claus himself. You won't want to miss it Sunday night as we end the weekend out right together. That's a look at your weekend ahead right here on the very best of Common Sense Radio, the Ripon Rabbit Hole.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Dark Wolf's Den show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Dark Wolf's Den Show. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning back in tonight, we are talking about Christmas miracles. These stories are nothing short of absolutely amazing. And most, if not all of them, have happened on Christmas Day. And these are once again what I would also call a time-locked event. And again, I want you to keep that in mind as we continue to go forward. Nevertheless, I would like to reintroduce our speaker from the first half, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matthew Santaro.
In mid-December of 2008, Sandra Dutschak was facing a Christmas with her son Marco, either in a hospital or confined to a wheelchair.
And as a parent, I can only imagine how hard that would be. Unfortunately, I am not a biological parent by the right, so I really don't know what a lot of this is like, but I have had stepchildren and people that I consider children, and I can tell you that as much as I care for them, I could only imagine being in a situation where the person is going to be either in a wheelchair or in a hospital during the special season. So if they've been somebody I care about or that I know, I couldn't even imagine how I would be feeling at that moment. Could you guys?
Which he'd need the rest of his life. While growing up in central Austria, Marco had developed a cyst on his spinal cord, which grew rapidly until it had taken up most of it. When doctors surgically removed the mass, they realized what was left of the 7-year-old boy's spinal cord was only about as thick as a thread.
Now, that is hard for me to even begin to comprehend. The entire spinal cord, think about that. Your spinal cord is quite thick, runs all the way down your back, right? Well, imagine if your spinal cord was as thin as a thread. You couldn't even sustain your own body weight, right? You would be stuck in bed the rest of your life in that situation, or at least until the spine was able to regrow to some degree to support your body, right? Well, this is going to take a miracle for something to be different.
Sadly, they told Sandra that her son would never walk again, which is terrible news to get at any time, let alone just before Christmas.
Once again, I couldn't even begin to imagine from the parents' point of view how this must have felt.
But then, less than a week before December 25th, Sandra walked into the hospital to find Marco literally pacing on the room's balcony.
Not only was he up and walking around, he was pacing and ready to go on the balcony. He was back and forth, back and forth. I couldn't even, wow, could you imagine again from the parents' point of view, walking in knowing that your son is going to be in a wheelchair the rest of his life. You know what you're walking into. You know you walk in the room, exactly what you expect to see, and all of a sudden he's pacing back and forth on the balcony. Wow, I bet this mother was more than ecstatic, right? But that's not even the half of it.
His recovery baffled his doctors.
If there's ever a line that I like to hear, it's baffled the doctors.
And when he was able to go home and open his Christmas presents, everyone knew a miracle had happened.
And I can't disagree with that whatsoever. And again, I'm going to tie this back to the time-locked events because I'm sure that he had to be walking in order to be doing or being somewhere at some certain time. Now, this could have been something as small as being in the right place at the right time to say something to somebody that may have had something in their mind that he would have been able to change the course of, like somebody who maybe had depression and he was able to help, or I'm just assuming at this point is really just off the top, but the fact that he had to be walking by this time according to the universe, regardless, he would have been walking around, whether the incident occurred and the cyst would have been there or not. Either way, it seems that on the time that he was able to get up and move around, it would have happened, and it did happen because it was meant to happen. It was locked into time. It had to be. It was a time-locked event or a miracle. And again, I see it as nothing shy of a miracle. I don't want to take anything away from the fact that this is magical to the nth degree. This is a Christmas magic, I call it. I don't want to just like tear down and poo-poo the whole fact that there is something incredible going on here. Time-locked event doesn't even begin to cover or touch the amazingness of what is in these stories, right? It doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of how incredible it is. And it could just be the fact that the culmination of all of the magic, of all of the belief, of everybody's emotions, and just that extra bit of happiness and warmth being put out there, just that energy and frequency being out there, maybe that is what's causing these Christmas miracles. Maybe it has nothing to do with the time-locked event. Maybe it truly is a magic of the season. But let's continue with yet another miraculous Christmas story.
On December 24th, 2009, 33-year-old Tracy Hermansdorfer was in a delivery room at Memorial Health System in Colorado Springs, Colorado, with her husband Mike, the pair waiting on their third son to be born. Suddenly, disaster struck.
And of course, the birth of a child is always a miraculous event, right? We can all agree with that. The birth of a child into the world is an absolute miracle in and of itself. But the fact that something went wrong here, that is not good.
As Tracy suffered cardiac arrest and went limp. Doctors spent 4 minutes attempting to revive her, but were not successful.
In pretty much any case I've ever heard like this is disastrous for both the mother and the child.
Around 4 minutes of being inside a deceased mother, an infant's chances of suffering brain damage skyrocket, so they quickly performed a C-section, only to find the newborn, Colton, barely alive. Mike Hermansdorfer was suddenly faced with losing his wife and son.
The intensity of this moment, I couldn't even begin to imagine. Again, I'm not exactly a biological parent, so I couldn't begin to imagine being in exactly that situation anyway, but for the fact that you've just lost your wife and your child is quickly heading out the door, this is not good. I could not even imagine what is going through this guy's head right now. He needs nothing short of a miracle.
When miraculously, both mother and baby began breathing on their own. To this day, doctors only have loose theories as to why Tracy's heart restarted itself.
And I can guarantee you not a single one of their theories explains the entire thing. And the reason I'm pretty sure of that is this is, again, an absolute miracle. Absolutely incredible. She was gone. Cardiac arrest, 4 minutes. It doesn't take very long without the brain getting oxygen before brain damage sets in. Yet both of the baby, who was pretty much close to brain damage himself, as well as the wife, both miraculously come right back to life. This is amazing. This is, again, a time-locked event, in my opinion. They still had to be alive. They still had to be here. They had to be, as a lot of people say, here for a reason. They're meant to do something, right? Well, I can't disagree with that. I would say it's a time-locked event, or even a magical Christmas miracle. Next up, we have FDT facts. Now, I've told you guys that there's both personal miracles and worldwide miracles, or personal time-locked events and world time-lock events. Well, what we're going to get into now, we've heard about the personal ones all night. Now we're going to get into a couple that affected the entire world. There was actually some Christmas miracles that occurred that affected everybody across the planet, if not in large sections of the planet, more than just a one-on-one personal event. These were events that affected large numbers of people. Let's put it like that.
Let's get into war. As a matter of fact, let's talk about the Civil War. So President Andrew Johnson actually pardoned all the Confederate soldiers in 1868 on Christmas.
As we continue to get into this story, you'll understand why it's actually such a miracle, at least more than it sounds on the surface.
Now, we all know the American Civil War was a very bloody war, one that almost tore America right in half.
And one that we would be remiss to forget and pretend did not happen, because if we're not careful, we could find ourselves again in the same situation, and Lord help us, I hope we don't end up there. So yeah, the Civil War was definitely something that was very brutal in this country's history. It's something that I hope we never see again, but it's also something that contains a hidden Christmas miracle. Check this out.
After the war, there was a lot of debate about wartime reparations, rebuilding the South, and what should be done with the Confederate soldiers. Now, when Abraham Lincoln was assassinated, President Andrew Johnson decided that he should pardon Confederate troops who applied for amnesty.
So that's the important part right there. He said he would only pardon the ones that actually applied for amnesty. Now, understand at this time in the South, they weren't exactly the most educated, and writing a pardon for amnesty wasn't exactly something that anybody could pick up a pen and paper and do at the time, especially due to the poor situation as far as money goes in the South at the time also. So this is a real miracle, because remember, he had only said that he would pardon the ones that actually wrote a letter asking to be pardoned.
But near the end of his term, on December 25th, 1864, he pardoned every single Confederate soldier. And because of that, it helped shape America to a much brighter future.
Together we stand, ladies and gentlemen, divided we fall, and let's try to be together this holiday season. Can we all? And yeah, I got a little rhymey there, huh? Ladies and gentlemen, there is one more war story that's probably the most famous of all the Christmas war miracles. This is truly a miracle, because, I mean, war is something that is not good. Period. In the story, it's never good. And what we're going to go into now is from the Civil War into World War I, and the most famous of all the Christmas miracles.
Now, considering we're talking about war, let's talk about one of the most well-known miracles that happened during World War I. Now, there's a series of widespread and unofficial ceasefires that took place during the Western Front of World War I. In fact, on December 17th, 1914, Pope Benedict XV suggested a temporary ceasefire for the war during the holidays.
And once again, how synchronistically time-locked that we would even be doing this episode on. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight is Thursday, December 17th, 2020. Exactly 106 years to the actual date that the Pope called for an official ceasefire for the holiday season.
Now, the thing is, most of the countries refused to take part in this ceasefire.
So even though he made a plea and a call to all the countries involved in the war, pretty much all of them decided they were not going for a seasonal peacefire. This was wartime.
But on Christmas, the soldiers in the trenches declared their own unofficial truce.
Think about that. You're in the trenches, you're in war, and all of a sudden both sides on Christmas Day miraculously decide to call a ceasefire, a truce of their own.
Now, there were a lot of stories of German troops going over to the Allied trenches saying things like Merry Christmas while being unarmed. And there's even a documented case where soldiers from both sides played a soccer match. Unfortunately, during the following years in wars like World War II, the ceasefire never returned. But for that one brief moment in time, it really did show that men were above their countries and their ideas and really believed in the true meaning of Christmas.
And this goes back to my message at the end of the show yesterday, and the fact that we're all a human family, regardless of creed, color, race, religion, or anything else. We are all a human family in the end. And if people in wartime can find a way, at least for a moment, to come together as a human family, then it shouldn't take much for us as a global nation to come together, at least for a little while, and enjoy the company that we've been missing all year long, and really enjoy the Christmas season and make some Christmas miracles of our own.
really cool fact, on December 25th of 1968, Apollo 8 finally reached the moon. Now this was the first piloted spacecraft of any kind to break free of Earth's orbit. And not only that, they managed to make it to the moon and orbit around it. And during that evening, the astronauts aboard the ship had a special live evening broadcast, which they had images of Earth from space and even read from the book of Genesis.
And there's a very famous story in ufology about this particular event, actually. When they come around from the dark side of the moon, they were quoted as saying, "I believe now that Santa Claus is real." Now, this may be taken as just a reference to Christmas Day itself. However, they had just changed the codes on the shortwave radios when the astronauts reported something out of the ordinary, like a UFO or a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, going on in space. Well, they couldn't say we see a UFO. They were told to use the code word Santa Claus. So when these astronauts come around the backside of the moon and made it to the front, the first transmission back was, "I now believe that Santa Claus is real." So take that as you may.
Let's talk about the internet, because one of the biggest technological miracles was on December 25th of 1990. And that was the day the internet got its very first test run.
Wow, considering how big and how amazing the internet is today, and the fact that pretty much our entire lives really revolve around one way or the other, the internet, it is really intriguing that the Christmas Day of 1990 was when the very first test run was done. Merry Christmas to the world.
This day marked the planet's very first web server to be up and running, and that website was info.cern.ch, and that stood for the European Organization for Nuclear Research.
You guys might know it better by the name CERN.
Now this server was created by Tim Berners-Lee, and the reason it was created was because they could have an open computer network in order for them to keep track of the research done at the Particle Physics Laboratory in Geneva, Switzerland.
So the internet was originally created not as a government thing, even though we know DARPA was involved, but it wasn't created originally as that. It was originally created to do nothing more than keep up with all the information coming in the particle physics realm of study. So that is absolutely incredible. It was originally made to be an educational tool, and I still think there's some of us that continue to use it as that. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think? Do you think that there's such thing as miracles? Do you think there's a magic around the holiday season that causes things to happen that is just not quite accepted in the normal realm of reality? Things that we would consider supernatural or a miracle. Things that I call time-locked events. And again, I don't want to say that that's what's going on. Maybe it's not a time-locked event. Maybe it is truly the magic of Christmas. In the end, ladies and gentlemen, with a little bit of common sense, of course, you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Dark Wolf's Den Show for Thursday, December 17th. 2020. Whether you're on the edge of reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad that you chose us to be right there with you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Den may be closing again for the weekend, but we've kicked off the holiday weekend right one more time. Guys, I've got good news. Friday through Sunday, AJ the Ripon Rabbit will be on the Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. And I happen to know, like I said yesterday, what these crazy old rabbits got planned. And let me tell you, there's a weekend of absolute fun coming up. Check this out. On Friday night, AJ is going to be talking about handmade Christmas. There's a lot of problems and financial issues going on this year, and we can't all afford to run to the store and buy everybody gifts. So why not use a handmade gift? Why not do something from the heart and something that's very unique that just you made? Those are always the best gifts. And AJ's going to go down a list of amazing ideas and maybe even some treats that you could give as holiday gifts. Then come back on Saturday night for a lot more fun on the radio. That's right. You guys know we have the Fantastic Fun Show, but this is going to be just as fun and probably twice as rewarding. Ladies and gentlemen, the White Elephant Party is coming up on Saturday night. What's a White Elephant Party? Well, let's just say you're going to have to tune in to find out, but it could be very well worth your while. You may actually end up walking away with a real prize. And ladies and gentlemen, make sure you come back one last time for Sunday night's AJ Ripon Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. He's going to be talking about a wish upon a star. Christmas wishes, ladies and gentlemen. We've been submitting our Christmas wishes all month long to the Ripon Rabbit, and we're going to hear them all played together in succession on that night. I also know that he happens to have a special guest. Yeah, that's right. I believe he verified yesterday that he's going to have the jolly old elf himself. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Santa Claus is going to be joining the broadcast for a special evening on Sunday night to wrap up another amazing holiday weekend of shows. Ladies and gentlemen, we really appreciate you guys being here. You do not want to miss a single one of these shows. Matter of fact, the best way to make sure you don't miss any shows at all is to go over to the riponrabbithole.com. That is RIPON That's right. Hop on over there and hop on our mail list. Go ahead and add your email to it, and you will get an email once a week on Wednesday night. And on Wednesday morning to explain all of the shows that are going to be going on the entire week. What we'll be talking about on Wednesday and Thursday, as well as what AJ the Ripon Rabbit over there is going to be talking about on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you want to keep up with the animals of radio, make sure you get on our mail list so you know exactly when we're going to be on and what we're going to be talking about. While you're over there at the riponrabbithole.com, make sure you scour around and check out all the wonderful things we offer, like our groups over there, and we've also got the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. That's right. Come on over there and hang out with us. If you want to join us after the show, it is absolutely free, and you can come hang out with me. All you got to do is click on the riponrabbithole.com and the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. Scroll about halfway down that page and enter the VIP chat. You will have to okay your camera and microphone, but you can turn those off the moment you get in and just text chat. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We hope to see you over there on the riponrabbithole.com. With that, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for me this week. It has been an absolute honor and pleasure once again to talk to you guys on the radio. So, with that said, on behalf of AJ the Ripon Rabbit, Walt House, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, the whole team at Ripon Common Sense Radio, my name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we hope you have a very happy holidays and a Merry Christmas. Until next week, ladies and gentlemen, remember, stay awake, but dare to dream. How? Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion?